Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're just going to do another velocity banking review and consider this to be your daily dose of motivation. In fact, I just got a comment 26 minutes ago. I believe it's from Florida. It says I've been watching for months. It's motivating. Wow. I feel a little bit of emotion there. Aw. Remember in those old 90s sitcoms, those little kids would do something cute and then the audience in the background go, aw. That's how I feel right now. And I love Florida. You know why? Number two state that watches this channel. Number one being California. I have a love-hate relationship with California, but I'll give it a little bit of love because it is number one. And Florida, I'll give some lots of love because it's number two. I don't know how that works, but I'll just say it that way. But today is your daily dose of velocity banking motivation. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy where you use your line of credit as your main operating account. In order to do this, you just got to create a budget. So easy, right? Income, expenses. When you do your expense breakdown, list every single debt that you have, right? There's only a limited types or numbers of types of debts that you can have. Credit cards, loans. I mean, that's pretty much it for the average American. And then the loans, people get like so emotional. Oh, it's a student loan. Oh, it's a mortgage. Oh, auto loan. They're all pretty much the same, right? Only thing that differs is maybe the interest rate. Maybe a loan is tied to an object, an asset for security. Maybe the loan has different lengths. So, for example, the 30-year loan is usually tied to a mortgage, to a home, and you just list all of them. And you list all the payments. See how easy that is? And then anything that's not a debt, you just put in this little box here. And maybe I should just make this a little different color so we know that this is not a debt. You know, I've been thinking whether I should kind of change this up a little bit. What's a good color that stands out? Let's make it blue? No, I don't like blue because it's still an expense. We'll make it a little brown. Okay. So anything that's not a debt, we'll just make it this color here, and then we'll just say $2,000 a month. Okay. And so our whole goal is to get rid of all this debt. We get rid of all this debt, and then we get this $2,000. I'm sorry, we still have to pay this $2,000 a month. And our whole goal is to dump all of our money into debt. So in order to do velocity banking, it's two things. And this is same income, same expenses, but we're gonna put our big boy pants on, or girl, if that's what you want to be. Um, the savings is gonna be zero, right? So we just look at this right here, and the savings, no savings at all, but we're gonna have income minus expenses, okay, as our cash flow. And you'd be like, what's the difference here? Well, I'll tell you what this difference looks like in real life. So when you go ahead and look at your bank account and you see all this money coming in, where does it go if you have no savings? Well, it goes all into a line of credit if that's what we're using as our main operating account, and that's what I'm using right here. So right now, our cash flow is $694, but we're not done yet. So the next step is we need a line of credit, and we'll assume that we have a $65,000 line of credit. Now, here's the unrealistic thing. If you're ever in a situation where you have a lot of debt and you need more credit, the bank is not going to give it to you, right? You know why the bank lend you all of this is because at this stage of your life, you weren't really at a point where you needed money. And then what they're hoping for, this is what banks like to do, is they like to deal with people who make good money, who they eventually want to make poor. But once you're poor, they want nothing to do with you. And then they'll just like, sorry, they'll just leave you, right? That's how banks work, unfortunately. All right. So, but my point is this: a lot of people try to learn this strategy and then just immediately apply it um, when they're struggling with money and try to get a line of credit. And I'm going to tell you the truth that you probably haven't heard from anywhere else is that banks don't lend money to people who need it. Right. So when people say, like, hey, you could borrow all the money in the world for real estate, they're going to look at your financials, right? Like, why wouldn't they look at your financials? They want to make sure that they get repaid, and a bank would rather get repaid early than not get paid at all. So that's why they love to lend to high income people because high income people have money and they're going to repay them back. But what they're hoping for with those high income people is that they just don't pay them back too early. That's just how a bank works, right? You don't pay me back too early, I make some money. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. And I am going to move some of this debt into line of credit. So how much do we have here? 27, 15, 10. I'm going to add this all up. So this is going to be 52,000, 52000. And then so right here, 52,000. And guess what happens when we move? It's kind of like a balance transfer of these debts into line of credit. Well, these all go to zero. So we literally went from $694 to about $2,400 of cash flow. And then our final step is moving the entire paycheck into the line of credit and then the expenses out and rinse and repeat over and over again. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to do this. And we're going to do this. So G2 plus H2 minus whatever our cash flow number is, 2387.33. So I just got to type in 2387.33. All right. So now we got to calculate the interest. And can I get a goat in the house? Because why do we talk about the goats? Because we are the greatest of all time. And if you don't know anything about me, you might see this goat imagery. It's really just to tell you I'm the greatest of all time. And you're the greatest of all time too. The greatest of all time. Why the greatest of all time? Because I paid off my mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, and this is my only, outlet to tell people that. You can't tell people that in real life because it's like, "What?" People might get a little bit jelly, whereas on the internet, you're kinda semi-anonymous, right? Alright, so now this is why they're the greatest of all time as we're paying off debt, and then what we're gonna do is calculate the average daily balance or estimate it, right? So this is a good average, multiply it by the interest rate, 8% right here. But then don't worry, we divide by 12, right? Because we're not going to pay $4,000 of interest to use a line of credit. That would literally be insane. And so now, this is what we're going to do right here. And I am going to highlight this, and we got 24 goats. Every time we're in a month in this process, we're just more the greatest of all time. That's what we're becoming. Aren't you motivated? I feel so motivated, but I actually don't really need um the motivation just because I'm already high on life. Let's say that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So this is 24 months. I always wonder what that meant. Like I'm high on life. And maybe I am. That's why like I'm so delusional about what it is that I'm doing. So let me just go here 24 months. And then now this is 52K. All right. And so now let's go ahead and we'll do the auto loan, student loan, and the mortgage, right? And so luckily we have this loan calculator right here. And all I got to do is put the loan month in, or yeah, 24 months, and then we just get the current loan balance. So I just type in 24, 24, 24. Now, one thing I want to make a note about is that I hate $300,000 houses, especially if you're going to pay for them 300,000. I can't believe there are people who buy $400,000 houses. Like, it's so insane to me. Like, I'd rather get like a $300,000 house for about 200,000, kind of like this. Don't you love these houses? These are amazing, right? $300,000 house for $200,000. That's what you really need to do. Don't buy a $300,000 house for 300,000. Buy a $300,000 house for 200,000. It'll make your life a lot easier, right? But I'm not gonna talk about today how we can do that, but that's just kinda like what we always have to brainwash ourselves, buy it at a discount. And you might be thinking, "It's not possible." Yeah, sure it is. Do you know that the profession of wholesale real estate can't exist unless there was a flow of discounted property? Now, you probably have to do some work on it, but if you have access to lines of credit, and me, myself, personally, I have access to $575,000 in lines of credit. My home equity line of credit is $280,000, right? And so again, just because you don't think it's possible doesn't mean it's not possible. Everything I'm showing you, including me having zero savings, I practice what I talk about, right? They call it practice what you preach. 2 years and 9 months. I can't even believe it. I paid off my mortgage that quickly, and I don't even believe it. I don't believe it, okay? Alright, so now let's go ahead and do this, and, so 24 months, we paid it off, and what's the current balance of that auto loan? We're just gonna go here right here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna move that 15 grand of the auto loan into the line of credit, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna do this, and that's gonna be plus 1557982, right? And so now what we got to do is update that cash flow. And how do we update that cash flow? Well, it's really easy. We just put a zero right here in the auto loan, right? You see the auto loan goes to zero, and then now we have 2846.42. Ooh, that's pretty good, right? Did the color change? Oh, I think it did. I want to make this one red. All right. I like red. Whoopsie. What happened here? All right. So now 2846.62, right? I think we can round up. Okay, so now let's see how many goats we can create. And I am going to do this. And then in 30 months, okay, 30 months, 52 plus 25. And then now we paid off 77K. That was easy. And then now let's just do this right here. 30 months. So this is gone. This is 30. This is 30. Now, should we put this entire thing into a line of credit? I'd say it depends, right? If the interest rate was the same or higher, I would say, meh, you know what I mean? Like I'd go for it, right? But if it's lower, and not only that, we don't get that much cash flow for paying it off, then I might just do what I call the chunking method, right? So what does that mean? It's just splitting your loan into pieces. So imagine that you took $6,000 here, or 7,000, we'll say 7,000, and now it's 21 grand, and you move it into line of credit. Well, just do this right here. So let me do this. All right. So, so let's say you move 7 grand right here, plus 7,000. Okay, how long does it pay off that seven take to pay off that 7 grand? 2 months. Okay, 2 months to completely pay it off, that 7 grand, and then we just rinse and repeat over and over again, right? That's really what the chunking method is. And you might be saying, well, why would we do that compared to just, I don't know, directly putting the cash into the loan? This is a 6% whatever, it's a 3% mortgage, but you're going to use an 8% line of credit for that. Come on, get out of here, right? And so the reason why we might do that is that we don't segregate our income. And this is why a lot of people have trouble overpaying their loans, because let's say I have this $2,800 here in my savings account or checking account. Now I'm going to decide to overpay these two loans. Now, what do I do? Do I pay off this one because it's the highest interest rate? Do I pay this one off because it's the mortgage, and the mortgage is emotionally tied to something that I value, which is my home? I mean, I've had people tell me that they'd rather pay off their mortgage first, even though it's like at a 2% interest rate, because it's like, it's my home. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? So, this is why a lot of people have trouble, and the other reason why people have trouble paying off their loans is because it's simply a one-way street, and we kinda use a line of credit, even though it's at a higher interest rate, almost as a bridge to make money, um, the most flexible it can be for you, right? Like, I don't know if you ever heard the phrase "confused minds do nothing." And so if I kind of just look at this and I have 2 loans and I have money left over, and I figure, like, and I dump all my loan into, like, maybe I half into the mortgage, half into the student loan. I'm gonna tell you something, people will get confused, because it's like, "Well, what if I need that money? Oh, okay, then I use a credit card, and then that's a backup, and then now I'm segregating my income again," which is why I'm back here at step 1, right? We don't wanna segregate our income. That's a fundamental no-no when it comes to velocity banking. So even if the tool does might cost us possibly a little bit more in interest. So for example, maybe and I'll show you example of this, like what happens with the 0% mortgage when you use an 8% tool. Again, would I do it with the 0% mortgage? Probably not. But you know, um, just kind of play with me here. Is that the right word? No, I can't even think because it's like totally in the morning for me. But just humor me. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So now let me pull out the velocity banking calculator. So, what is a velocity banking calculator? Well, it's a calculator provided by Renatus, and you might be thinking, "What's Renatus?" Well, it's my plug here where I start, so that you can give me some more money. So Renatus is an educational company where not only did I learn velocity banking from here, but I also learned about real estate investing, financial literacy, blah blah blah. So, if you're wanting to up your game and learn more how to do things, quote, the right way, go ahead and click the Google form link below. And someone might be asking, can I get this sheet calculator? Well, only if you're not a student. That's where I learned it from. Okay. So, full disclosure, I make money off of every sale because I'm a what they call an independent contracted marketer, or AKA affiliate marketer. And, the reason why I sell this stuff is just because I learned most of the stuff that I'm teaching you here from it, at least the velocity banking portion, right? I got my own little spin, but yeah, and not only that, all the other stuff that I talk about that's not related to velocity banking or not directly tied to velocity banking, I learned from here. I had no idea how real estate even worked before I took these classes, believe it or not. When people tell me words like comparable sales, like, huh? What does that mean? Like, what? All right, so now let's go ahead and plug and play the information, and I'm just do this right here. So this is gonna be 6,500 is the income. How much is the expenses? Expenses is gonna be $2,000 a month. No, not 2,000. My bad. It's gonna be everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off, not just the general expenses. So it's gonna be 3264.81. 3264.81. And so now this is going to be a 10-year loan. Let me get rid of these. And what's the interest rate of that 10-year loan? It is going to be 6% at 35,000. So 6%, 35,000. What is the payment amount? It is 388.57. 388.57. Okay. And then now I don't even know what's going on. So, what's the current balance? 28105.9. 28105.9. All right. So now it's point 0.7 years till we pay it off. Awesome. Awesome. So let me go back here. So 30 divided by 12 plus, no, actually 30 plus zero point 0.7 times 12. So we'll say 39 months. And then this is gone. So this is 0, and then this is going to be 77 plus 35, which is 112K, and 300,000 at 3%. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this. And all right, so now we just got to do the mortgage. So $300,000 mortgage. So now this is 30 years. 30 years. Let me take this off. And we'll just do this $2,000. Okay. So $2,000 at 30 years, what's the payoff amount? This is what I was looking at before, Full House, because I was touched by your comments. What's funny about like TV shows back in the 90s? Everybody had like their catchphrases, and I feel like nobody has that anymore. I feel like I need a catchphrase, but I can't even think of one. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this. And I completely lost my train of thought. So, okay, 1264.81. 1264.81. And then this is 3%. And then this is $300,000. And what is the amount of the current balance? It's 283,982.49. 283,982.49. All right, so 5.8 years. So you all see why I don't like the $300,000 mortgage, because I'd rather pay it off in 4 years. 5.8 years, it's kind of a lot to me. You know what I mean? It's like, why so long? So again, when it comes to real estate, I want you to buy it a deal, right? Like you don't want to buy a $300,000 property for 300,000. Buy a $300,000 for 200. Buy a $200,000 for 100. And if you're in a $100,000 area, buy it for like 10,000. You know what I mean? $100,000 property for 10,000. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this. So this is what's 39 divided by 12 plus 5.8 years. 5.8 years, and then 9.05 years. And then this is 0, and I'm just going to do this. So it's 412K of debt paid off. Not bad. Not bad. So again, this is usually I think it usually takes me 7 to 8 years to pay off all the debt, but I always assume like a $200,000 mortgage. But it's a $300,000 mortgage, I guess, adds like 2 more years. And um one other comment I want to make is that a lot of people advertise in their velocity banking channels like pay off your mortgage in 7 to 10 years or 5 to 10 years, and it's like, well, actually I heard 7 to 10, but it's like I got 5.8 here. And that's a kind of a bad thing for me, because it's like I'm so used to doing it like 3 years, 4 years that I get my mind blown. And then my perception has been so skewed that if you pay off your mortgage in like 6 years, I'm like, that's kind of a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit, taking too long. That's how skewed my perception is. Although I don't know if you know the average mortgage statistics, and I'll just Google it right here. Oh, Nintendo Switch games. Um, how early do Americans pay off mortgage? And okay, so some people pay it off, but a lot of people don't. 63%. Okay. So while only 28% of homeowners below retirement age have paid off their homes, nearly 63% of 65 have done so. So that means maybe 40% of this demographic is still paying, which is probably more than 30 years, right? Think about that. Now, I know that there are a lot of free and clear houses out there. I heard actually a statistic that one third of the housing stock is free and clear, like there's no mortgage on it. So, but it probably didn't take them 5 years, probably took them 30. You know what I mean? All right. Well, that's it for today. This is Korean Atlanta Mentorship, your daily dose of motivation. Well, hopefully this will motivate you to pay off some debt, and then once you paid off some debt, give me some money. You know what I mean? Wink, wink. All right. So have a great day. It's Korean Atlanta Mentorship, and we'll see you in the next video.